The ship was quiet as I made my way into my office, with only the steady hum of engines vibrating throughout the ship to be heard, soft and comforting. We were still almost a day from the home realm, and all the preparations for our operation had already been finished almost a full day ago, so the crew was enjoying a bit of downtime before things got serious. Deep in cog space, we had little else to do that wasn't already arranged or superfluous to need. Nav, of course, was using this time to continue to tweak and tune the ship so that he could inevitably save the day by pulling out just that much more from the ship than normal at the right time. He was the best at what he did, and as I passed one of his drones, a projection of his face appeared. Sarge, all systems are nominal, as everyone seems to be in quarters except for yourself, and looks to be for at least the next 7 hours. May I ask if you could also remain wherever you are heading? I intend to perform several tests of atmospheric and energy. Like I said, Nav never stopped working. 7 hours? Yeah, I can do that for you. I'm heading to my office. Give me 5 and I'll be there. Appreciated, Sarge. As soon as I had entered the outer room of my office, the command chamber from where one could observe and coordinate all the operations of the ship, the doors slid shut, and I could hear and feel the pressure and energy seals activate. Nav's voice chimed in immediately. Seals all set, and beginning the test, Sarge. Setting comms to direct contact mode to prevent any potential bleed over. Thank you. I'll ring if I need anything. Are there any other systems going to be going offline for your tests? Negative, Sarge. Tests beginning now. Nav out. That done, I walked towards my office, only to stop when I saw the back of an intruder standing in my office. He was tall and looked as if he were examining my desk. As I took the beater coil off my waist, he spoke, and the wind was driven from my lungs. It's been too long, Han. You still do go by Han, yes? With that, the man turned, and I nearly sank to a knee before he continued. None of that. I have this fine bottle of Unifused Cider I need help in drinking. Farm bottle, special vintage. I could see now that he'd been setting out a pair of glasses and had a decanter of a shifting liquid, shining and devouring light in a dance in the bottle. I recovered and made my way to the seat behind my desk and nudged the empty glass towards my guest. Of course, I'm not on operation time right now. Be happy to drink with you. He filled our glasses and sat across the desk from me. We raised our glasses together. He started. To Criterion, the Realms, and to you, Han. You've really outdone yourself this time. I raised my own glass in return. To Criterion, the Realms, and, yeah, double for me. The chuckle was honest, if clipped from my guest. To the family, I finished. The family, was his reactive reply as we toasted and drank. The energy that was contained in this drink rushed through me, and I could feel the excess being expelled from my eyes as light, just as my guest's eyes glowed. The smooth burn of this fine spirit made my face warm and brought on a single cough from the both of us, followed by a low whistle of enjoyment. This is mighty fine indeed. My thanks. But what brings you to me in such a impromptu fashion? For a moment he seemed unsure of my meaning, before a sly grin crossed his face. Oh, well, this is the first chance I've had to catch up with you after all. When you retired, you went dark, and I thought I should respect that. But you sat in a test at Trannis about, what, a week ago? News of that made it to my ears, so I felt you would not take offense at my arrival. I was a bit startled by that he had heard I had been at Trannis, but he was who he was. This is fair, but why visit at all? I saw something cross my guest's face. Pain. Or so I thought. Before I could confirm what I had seen, though, it was gone. Han, do you think I'd miss the chance to congratulate you on going independent finally? I can see why you were in the dark so long if this is what you were working on all the time. He gestured around. Surveyor model. Common enough, even in this industrial configuration. But I bet you've tricked it out with everything you could think of, right? The hull alone must have taken you years. I said nothing as I slowly took another drink, letting him continue as the fire burned my throat. Let me guess. You parlayed the materials from the house as part of your retirement package. They had an eye on you for promotion, you know. At that, I almost choked. Only saved by the fact that my glass was empty. It was a shock that my guest was unaware of the details of my retirement, and as he finished filling my glass once more, I managed a response. Did they now? I was doing far too well then. Lamentations of the Father, first book, second chapter. My guest's chuckle were almost louder than my recitation. The worst thing I ever did was let them promote me. He finished along with me. Yes, your name came up a few times from what I understand. But that's not my area. You know how these things are. Politics. It makes everything more difficult. I caught a subtle shift in his tone. So, is that why you are here? His look was somber, but serious. He reached into his vest and pulled out a strip of a uniform and tossed it on the desk between us. On it was a complex set of braided knots. I knew what it was, and I went still. I know what you are on your way to do, Han, and I'd ask you to not. The blood in my veins, already warm with the liquor, switched to fire. Excuse me? Are you out of your mind? They are the enemy. They cost us nothing, Han. I was struck silent. How? How can you? Because they did not cause the sky tear, Han. Of course they did. Criterion doesn't have anything that matches anything that opened that tear. No one knows what happened, unless you're saying that you do. Old friend, that is exactly what I am saying. Do you not think if it had been the fault of these revivers, I would not have made each of them pay? It was a tragedy, but one that neither could be avoided or prevented. The word struck hard as I began to realize what he was meaning. Wait, you knew? Only that something was going to happen, Han, not what or when. His tone took the heat from my blood. We lost so many. I know. I lost a son. I could only stare, dumbstruck as he continued. He took the knotted scrap of uniform back. They lost even more by proportion. Where we had the house guard and the advanced division to draw from to reconstitute our forces, that was it for them. Now, they're just technical advisors and research assets for people who can afford them. They're not a threat anymore. In fact, they're quite the opposite at this point. I was finally able to gather my wits and respond, waving about the ship, gesturing. How did you know about what you were intending to do? Hawn, the commander of the House Advanced Division, may be a master of all things clandestine, but he doesn't hold that skill set in exclusivity. His smile was warm and filled with pride. His mother still has a few things to teach him. Fair enough, but even with what you present here, I can't turn away. Why? He fixed me with a solid look. They have interfered with things they should not have even known about. I have to plug such a leak before I can risk working in the Wild Realms without a net. Do you not agree? His look was serious, and he did consider my words before responding. What did they do? I reached into my desk and tossed him the infotome with the images on it. 30 Type 4 unis, all for less than 10% of what it should. Sold to an indie doing work for me, just as he needed such rare materials. He looked at the infotome with a scowl. I see. That would be enough to warrant a look. I'll give you that. His face went neutral as he looked at the rest of the images. And I can see why you have such a sense of urgency. Still, you are going to need to refrain from this. Less because I am asking you to, and more because this is a setup. I only nodded for him to continue, and listened closely as he explained. As I said, politics makes everything harder. When financial interests are likewise entwined, doubly so. By the 9 and 4, welcome once more to the library, where today we're going to take a brief look at the general economy of the realms. Now, this is only an introduction. We are only covering the basics, that is, the complex nature of an interstellar economy. No worries, my perceptive patrons. The realm's main currency for day-to-day activity are simple coins of precious metal. 50 to a pound. The style and shape of the individual coins will vary based on where they were minted, which country or sovereignty chose to mint them. Using a simple base 10 system, where 10 of a lower denomination will equal the value of one of the next highest denomination, conversion is a simple matter for merchants and common folk alike. Starting with copper as the cheapest material, then silver and gold, with platinum being the highest standard recognized coin. While most will never have the need for it, merchants and others with the power and wealth to require it will often use 3 other and higher forms of currency: the rod, the bar, and the plaque. All weighing the same amount, roughly a pound, they are in fact metaphysically temporarily reduced in weight and size of the amount they represent. This is done in the minting process. The rod is worth 1,000, the bar 10,000, and finally, the plaque holds a value of 100,000 coins. Now, the force holding the full mass in this state is focused on the seal pressed in during minting. If this seal is dispelled or otherwise destroyed, the full mass, weight, and size, fully included, will reassert itself. This can often have destructive consequences, as a 1-pound rod expanding into a 20-pound staff is not in and of itself too great a change or danger. However, having a 1-pound plaque explode into a 1-ton block of metal has seen more than one overzealous adventurer die to the overuse of fire and heat around a hoard or in a vault. Indeed, even the dragons have met their doom due to such events, where, unbeknownst to the dragon, bars and plaques in the bottoms of their hoards would end up having their seals broken by the massive weight of the dragon resting and shifting on top of the hoard containing them, only to then have the hoard explode with the expanding mass, breaking the seal on other rods, plaques, and bars, and ending with the hoard crushing the dragon and often collapsing or otherwise destroying the structure or cave the hoard was in. Beyond the normal denominations that are near universal, described already, many nations have currencies that are unique to them, and these still tend to be recognized in other major cities of other sovereignties, but more often than not are found as souvenirs and tokens of proof of travel than used as currency. Other than coin, a healthy goods trade economy exists within the realms, where the vast amount of goods produced in the various lawless lands or wild realms, whether it be raw ores, fine foodstuffs, or specialized works of craft, are gathered and at first distributed locally, and then any excess being moved into the larger and greater markets. Each step of this path is covered and facilitated by multiple groups, each vying for their share of the money that is to be made. The halfling and gnome caravans that make their regular routes across the various realms serve as the backbone to this, gathering and distributing goods locally, and then, via air or sea, shipping excess to larger cities and nations as described before, from which many of these goods are then refined further, or made into final products, some of which will go back to the local caravans, while the rest will go into the wider market of the inter-realms. Beyond coins and trade goods, there does exist one other form of universally valued asset, that being the various forms of Christ. Your standard Type 1 Christ is universally valued at 1 gold piece, a Type 2 at 30, Type 3 at 500, and a Type 4 at 7,000, with the largest normal Christ type, a Type 5, a mere 90,000 gold. The other celestial variants of Christ are worth more, with Aether and Void being worth about 50% more, and Chrono Christ, the Temporsis variant, being worth double that of normal Christ. For those who are wondering, a normal Oni Christ is well over 1 million gold, and Uni Christ, an artificial fusion of the 4 celestial Christ form into a single Christ, is valued at no less than 60 times the value of an equivalent Christ. These variations in value and availability, as well as Christ being a necessity material for so much of the advanced works of the realms, ensure that Christ will always be recognized as a valued and tradable item. There are those, in fact, whose entire wealth was based on finding a high type of Christ and using it to bankroll their further successes. From these basic and recognized means of trade, the various layers of merchants, banks, and other groups needed to keep the vast realms functioning economically are able to, with very little in the way of oversight or regulation, as the market forces at play always means that any failing in a larger entity, such as a change in price that is unpopular, can see a new face arrive to fill the gap and perhaps even supplant such offending entities. All by providing a better service. It can be said the vast majority of the structures within the economic affairs of the realm are free for all meritocracy, or the best ride to the top, and the public is kept well supplied and happy as a mark of the skill and merit of those engaged. And with the basics of the economic systems of the realms covered in brief, I would like to thank each of you for your time and your attention as always. It does mean so very, very much to me. Thank you. Now, until you return once more to the library, my prospective patrons, by the 9 and 4, be well, take care of yourself and each other. Sarge? Nav's voice chimed into my office, where I now sat alone with the decanter of drink and the glasses, my own still half full. Yes, Nav. Report. Test complete. All systems are back to normal function. I am unsealing all internal doors. Full access to ship is now available. Thanks. What is our current ETA to home route? Approximately 14 hours. Excellent. Once we arrive, I want you to engage in Scatter Pattern Moonbeam 7. Sir? The operation is off, Nav. Upon review and with a cooler head, I think someone is trying to derail our client by derailing us. Me. By derailing me. Nav's voice was a bit softer in his response. Confirmed. Moonbeam 7, sir. Shall I inform the rest of the crew? No. We still may be going into action. We just need to be anywhere that isn't near where we were going while we figure this out. I've got some feelers out there to confirm or deny my suspicions. But it's still better to stay ready than not. I'll brief everyone as soon as I know more. Aye, sir. Nav out. With that, silence now again reigned in my office, and I contemplated the bullet we had just dodged. Whoever had set this up had nearly gotten me to crash into the middle of some high-level backroom talks between some various power players. While my guest failed to illuminate me directly to any of the participants, the implications were clear enough. I had nearly caused an inter-realms incident, one that could have seen us fleeing for our lives from not only the Hunters, the Dragon Knights, but even the Expedus fleet. As I drained my glass and felt the rush of its contents flow through me, I silently thanked my guest for his visit again. A moment later, I heard Nod enter the outer command room and make his way to my office. He looked at the glasses, and then to me. Having guests while in cog space, that's a minor feat. I nodded to the now empty chair. Nada sat down, and I filled the other glass for him, as I began to explain what had just been passed on to me. One does not exactly say no to a visit from Karth the Skychild, especially when he brings a fine bottle of spirits, and the foreknowledge to escape a trap meant to ensnare and kill us all.